These unions are damaging the economy of this country. Yeah. They are fundamentally evil organisations.
Hang on.
Well, it's a great headline in the Mail, isn't it? Is Labour facing a summer of discontent?
If you do say so yourself.
Well, I didn't write it. It wasn't my idea, but it is a good headline because industrial action, the spectre of it's back with a vengeance, Piers. Explain what's happening.
Some of us with even short memories will remember it's a Labour government. Summer is coming up. The trade unions would like to see their members have longer holidays, so they're going to send them all on strikes. But also, it's absurd. We've got the disastrous continuing situation in Birmingham, which looks like spreading to other cities.
Labour Council,
NHS,
8-week-old big strike.
You have teachers, you have other civil servants, and you have these things called pay review boards that are described as independent, which they're certainly not, and they are a public body, i.e. a quango, paid for by us, the taxpayer, who come up with these numbers which are higher than what the government believes they should be paying. And so the unions use that as a way of striking. And this is crazy. So actually, I hope that if Nigel Farage ever gets into power and reform, one of the things they could do is get rid of these pay review boards. They're not independent. They cause trouble. It should be the Treasury setting these.
That would be awful. That would be worse.
No, that's their job. That's why we have thousands of people.
The Treasury have set a rate of 2.8%.
And the pay review bodies are saying 4%.
Yes.
4% for teachers, 3% for NHS. First of all, the pay review bodies are independent, and secondly,
who appoints them? Who appoints them?
Well, they're obviously appointed by the government.
So
but
how independent are they?
Any body is actually appointed by the government, and then it's independent. If you have an independent inquiry, the people have to be appointed by ministers first off.
Well, most of this government are trade unionists themselves. There are 28 ministers.
This video is sponsored by Saily. Saily is a brand new eSIM service app. What it does is get you a local SIM card that you can use when you're traveling, so you don't have to pay those crazy roaming fees just to send a text back home. They've got eSIM plans in over 160 countries and 8 regions, so pretty much wherever you're going, they'll be able to make sure you're connected. So how does it work? Well, all you've got to do is hit our link in the description to download the app. It will work on iOS or Android. Buy a plan, you can choose the best time frame for you, and then just install the eSIM on your phone. When you land at your holiday destination, you can activate your plan instantly. Saily eSIMs only ever have to be installed once, so when you go on your next trip, you just buy a plan for a new country, turn that eSIM back on, and just like that, you could be watching the GB News YouTube channel. You can be connected anywhere you go, and you don't have to deal with patchy Wi-Fi in your hotels. So get sorted for your next trip by downloading Saily using the link in the description below, and if you use our code NEWS at checkout, you'll get an exclusive 15% discount on us.
Starting from the point that if you're going to have a pay review body and it's going to recommend what the pay rises should be, that seems to me to just ignore them and say, oh, no, either we can't afford it, which is what the Tories did, and it looks like Labour might go the same way by saying, look, we've got 2.8% we've budgeted for, therefore teachers can't have their 4%, nurses can't have their 3%.
But the unions are not going to accept that.
No, of course they won't. No, and the job of the union. Well, hang on. We're a long way from a strike. We haven't even actually seen the official figures yet. We're a long way from a strike, but a union is there to.
They are striking in Birmingham.
I know.
But the people who
we're talking about
not being collected.
But the ones in Birmingham are not teachers and nurses, which is what we're talking about
they'll be
here.
Out soon, shortly joining them.
Well, not necessarily a strike. The whole point of a union surely must be to support its members and to try and get the best deal possible for its members. So you can't blame.
Blackmailing everyone, like employers, the taxpayer, the government.
It's not a question of blackmail. It's negotiating. It is negotiating the best deal you can get for your members. That is what a trade union is for.
Yeah, which is why it's actually completely anachronistic. These unions are damaging the economy of this country. They are fundamentally evil organisations.
No, hang on. They're there to counter what employers are doing.
I wouldn't go along with evil, but I would say this. It's going to be difficult for Labour, who attacked the Tories for the terrible industrial unrest in a NHS. But if we get teachers and doctors and nurses going on strike on the Labour government's watch, Nigel, that's a pretty poor look.
But you're leaping several steps ahead. At the moment...
Not many.
Well, we are,
because... The College of Nursing are writing to their members saying we're not accepting this pay offer.
That's right.
What do we do about it?
The
question that comes down to now is how you actually fund. If you accept these pay recommendations, the question is funding. Now the issue will be that will have to come from other budgets, which is what both the National Education Union and the Royal College of Nursing are opposed to. But it doesn't mean they won't get their money.
What it means is Rachel Reeves will be putting up taxes in the budget in the autumn. That's now pretty nearly inevitable. And the situation she finds herself in is getting worse by the day. And most of it was her own making when on day one she handed out above the proper level pay increases when she
22% for the doctors over 2 years,
right.
And 16% for the train drivers over 3 years.
Over 3, that's right. Over 3, yeah.
She's cut her own throat, and it's only going to get worse for everyone in this.
And the whole point about settling those strikes was for what we hoped for would be economic growth. Because if you hadn't settled those strikes, there isn't at the moment. No, you're absolutely right.
I'm glad you agree with that.
Yes, but for forces outside, like President Trump.
For goodness sake.
Well, of course it is.
I mean, 2 weeks after the 16% pay rise for the train drivers, one of the train unions went on strike. Yes, there wasn't even a string attached to the pay deal.
That was over a specific pay problem. That was not overall. Right. What we've had is the trains have broadly been running since Labour came to power, which they weren't before they came to power. The doctors have gone back to work, so it's really important to settle those strikes. Now we're about a year on, and of course new pay claims are going in.
But actually, this shouldn't happen every single year.
Of course it should.
And it's absurd.
There should be annual pay claims because inflation keeps going up. We've got inflation now at 2.6%.
And it's going higher.
And it may well go higher by the end of the year, in which case, even if they get these pay awards, that'll be eaten up by inflation.
Try running an NHS when you've got permanent threats of strikes hanging over you the whole time. It's insane. And also, any employer who's unfortunate enough to have a unionised workforce, it makes their jobs almost impossible.
But the whole point...
The unions have no interest in the greater welfare of this country.
This is not true.
No interest.
I was a union negotiator myself for journalists, and I would have resigned if I'd ever had to go out on strike.
And you know who might resign if we don't go to her because we're very late? It's Tatiana Sanchez, because it's nearly 11:33.
Well done, gentlemen.
Thank you both, Piers, Nigel.